Carbine slings are a lot like holsters. Well, in the way that I think they're essential, I'll just say a sling is a holster for your rifle, and there's lots of little different like designs and features that maybe they're all the same, maybe they're a little bit different, but it's just preference on one thing you like, don't like, this, camo pattern, color, whatever. So I want to kind of walk you through the progression of the different ones I've tried. I also want to talk about the new sling from Lucas Bodkin's new company, Adaptiv. Adaptiv Defense is the name. So anyway, I got that one on tap to talk about also, and a few others of my favorites. So when I first started rifle shooting, I went over to my friend Kenny's house. I was like, hey, which sling should I buy? And he had easily 8 of them. So I went through, check out a whole bunch of different ones out. And there's, some of them that are very, very similar. Like Blue Force Gear, the one was good. The Magpul one was good. And there was one that I liked just a little bit better than the other one, which was Edgar Sherman design sling. So the ESD sling, Lunar's over here. She's getting it. Yeah, it's not for you, my cat. So the one thing I liked about, that really caught my attention of the Edgar Sherman sling was I liked this pull tab they have. All right, you can come up here if you want. Lunar's got the sling now. This is too funny. This is like designed to break if it gets caught on something for like a safety thing, so you're not going to get like hung up by it. But I've also heard when these things get cold, they can snap or break because this is kind of a rubber or neoprene. But like for my usage, never had an issue with that. I liked the idea of how accessible the pull tab was, and this sling where you just have it secured on the rifle, whatever QD points you want. All you do to loosen the sling, just pull on this guy, create extra slack. When you want to tighten it up, just pull forward on that guy. It's the sling is super like smooth to operate. I like the pull tab. Anyway, I like this sling a lot. So Edgar Sherman sling, good to go. Use this one for a while, and it's one of those things, as I used it more and more, there was one thing that I thought was lacking. The pull tab, never had an issue with it breaking. I've got a few of these, and no issues. Everything was great, except for the lack of padding. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but if you're training for 30 or 45 minutes, no biggie. If you're doing carbine classes, so either teaching or attending or training all day or carrying your rifle around slung for an extended period of time, this ends up becoming kind of uncomfortable. So having a sling with some padding seemed like a smart way to go, but I really, really liked the dynamic and the way the thing worked. So did some looking and came across logo. This guy, T-Rex sling. This sling I like a lot also. This one's designed by a friend of mine, Derek Freimeyer. Derek he designed the sling and then sold the patent to T-Rex. So anyway, I've used the sling quite a bit, and the reason I liked it has kind of been my go-to because it's the same thing as the Edgar Sherman more or less in the way, and this design is not specific to Edgar Sherman or this one. There's a lot of different companies that use kind of a form of a tri-glide that allow you to either loosen the string or tighten it back up just by pulling on some kind of a tab or a loop. The Magpul sling does something similar. I think Larry Vickers, is it Blue Force Gear, I think is his company. I think the Blue Force Gear has a similar like attachment method, but anyway, nothing so exclusive, but I liked the design, and I just wanted something with kind of a smooth tri-glide that it didn't feel like it was catching or high spots, low spots, whatever. So anyway, I like the T-Rex sling a lot just because it does that. It's got a little bit wider strap for your shoulder, so especially longer days carrying the rifle, this would be, up until recently, my go-to. The other thing, in case it gets your attention, with slings, normally the way these are meant to work is the sling comes longer than what you need, and it's designed for you to pick what length you want, get your QDs all situated, and then with the extra material, you're meant to cut it off and burn it so it doesn't fray. Well, I change my mind quite often about what QD slings or what QD attachment points I wanted to use in the rifle, placement, all that kind of stuff. So, and I'm pretty open to the fact there might be a better way to do it that I haven't seen yet. So me being a little bit frugal, I thought, well, if I cut this to length of how I want it this very moment, burn it off, it's going to be really tough to add material back if I decide I want to use different QD points. For example, the method I prefer using is right behind the castle nut and then just forward of the receiver, either on something that mounts to the rail, so a Picatinny mount, or oftentimes the forearm will have a QD mount into it, so on the rail. So anyway, that's the method I prefer, and so what I just started doing is using electrical tape with, after I get the thing set, the position I want it to be, with whatever's left over. You can see I just kind of fold it back and forth, wrap it in electrical tape, and then if I decide, for whatever reason, I want to change, and I want to start using the QD attachment point on the buttstock, and I want to move this guy all the way up towards the business end, I won't have an issue where I'd need to buy a new sling. Instead, all I do is just remove the electrical tape and all the materials there. Like I said, it's easier to just do that than try to add material back after you cut it off. So anyway, that's the reason for the electrical tape. It's been good because I've changed sling placements a few times. But use this sling for, I don't know, several years. No issues at all. To this day, I still like the sling. I think it's a great product. So anyway, that one's sold by T-Rex. Then, I happened to be staying at Lucas's house. We had, I think, 6 days. Ben and I had 6 days of classes in Tennessee. And Lucas was kind of left to let us stay with him and left with, well, a couple prototypes. One of which I can talk about today. And this sling is basically the same in a lot of ways as what you just saw. But the padding is different on it. That's the part that I think is kind of interesting. Remove this from the rifle. The shoulder strap is actually neoprene, and it's got, well, I'm going to call it a neoprene pad on their website. Pad housed with soft 4-way stretch nylon sleeve, pull tab, blah, 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 nerdy stuff. So, more or less, the short version, the same style of pull tab that you're used to on those other products. I think a lot of different companies do something similar to this, but the difference is this pad is neoprene, it's softer, and it actually stretches a little bit. I don't know how well I'll be able to show it or not, but there's actually a little bit of give in the material. Not so much that it feels like a bungee cord or something, but a little bit of give. Yes, Lunar. Come on over. And so anyway, I like that. So Lucas gave me one. I think this is actually a little bit behind the scenes, so I didn't pay for this, of course. It's a prototype, and I thought it got dated somewhere, the date I got it, but I could be wrong. I think it was in October of this year. I'm sure I'll find it as soon as I end the recording. Anyway, so this sling's been good for me. There's the interesting part about this when Lucas was explaining it is there are 3 different types of slinger profiles. This one's the carbine sling, then there's a DMR sling, and a heavy sling. The interesting part was the weight load, designed for the sling, came into part of the idea for the padding. So a lighter carbine rifle, this one would be good to go. Then if it's a heavier, a DMR gun, or a full sniper rifle, whatever you'd want to carry, the padding on the sling gets wider, more padding, so it kind of depends on what your use case is. But anyway, I've had this thing on my rifle, well, on this gun, this ADM, exclusively since, I don't know if it's September-ish, I think, when I was at his house, and I've been using it ever since. No issues at all. It's the same style of tri-glide that I'm used to with the other, like I said, the Edgar Sherman or the T-Rex slings. The thing I really, really liked is the padding, the neoprene. It just feels softer, and if you're going to have a slung rifle for 6 hours or something like that at a time, whether you're patrolling it with it or standing still somewhere or just hanging out or training, I will say that makes a big difference over something like this, which is totally fine for limited use or a little bit of time with the range, but once you carry the rifle for a longer amount of time or after a full day, it does start to wear on you a little bit. So anyway, hopefully that's helpful. That's the new Adaptiv defense sling. I like it quite a bit, but if you have something else you like, I'm not gonna be like, yeah, you should sell whatever you have and buy this or buy this sling. It's like, if you're in the market for a sling, I think this is the route to go. But if you already have T-Rex, Edgar Sherman, whatever other design, Blue Force is cool, Magpul stuff. If you have what you like, I wouldn't buy anything else. But if you're in the market for something different and you're in the need of a sling, I think the sling from Adaptiv Defense is the way to go. Plus, obviously, I like those guys. I like all the guys they have working there. So anyway, and the price point, it's, as of this, they just launched, but it's only $52 for the sling, which I feel like is pretty cheap. I think I spent like 60 or 70 on the Edgar Sherman. I don't remember. I feel like this is the least expensive of the slings I have. Anyway, was my point. So appreciate you watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that nonsense. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments. I'd be happy to answer them if I can. Like I said, these are like holsters, though. There might be a feature you really, really like, where maybe you hate something with a pad you don't want it to have, or you're tired of hanging around a rifle and it always digs into your shoulder or collarbone or a piece of gear and you wish it had more of a padding or a different padding, so maybe that's what you want. So appreciate you watching and hope you have a good day.